Today, we're going to dive into something really fascinating. It's a speech from the spiritual thinker Swami Vivekananda, and he talks about the incredible, almost unbelievable power that he believes is lying dormant inside every single human mind.
So let me just start by asking you a question, straight up. Do you believe in miracles? Those things that seem to just completely defy every law of nature we think we know. It's a question that has for sure captivated people for centuries.
Well, Vivekananda had a really unique way of looking at this. He argued that what we call a miracle, it's not supernatural at all. It's just the result of a natural law that we haven't discovered yet. Something that seems totally impossible today might be common sense tomorrow.
And to prove his point, Vivekananda didn't just talk philosophy. Oh no, he shared stories of things he claimed to have witnessed with his own two eyes, events that would seriously test the limits of anyone's belief.
Now, he was realistic. He knew that some so-called miracles are just fakes. But as he put it, even a copy is made of something real. The fact that fakes even exist suggests there's a genuine, real phenomenon out there that's worth copying in the first place.
So his first story is a real mind-bender. He and a few friends went to visit this man who was supposedly a psychic. And before the guy even said a word, he correctly stated every single question they had secretly written down in their private diaries. And then he even started making predictions about them. But here's where it gets absolutely wild. The man asked them to just think of sentences in any language they wanted. So they chose Sanskrit, Arabic, and German, languages they were sure he couldn't speak. He then pulls out these little slips of paper he'd written earlier, and on them were the exact sentences they had just thought of word for word. Just, wow.
Okay, as if that wasn't enough, get this one. Another time in Hyderabad, he met a yogi who was wearing nothing but a loincloth. So, no tricks up his sleeve, literally. This man asks them what they'd like, and they name all these different fruits from different countries. And right there, out of thin air, a huge pile of fresh fruit just appears. A pile that weighed 4 times more than the man himself.
So how on earth could any of this be real? Well, Vivekananda's whole explanation for these insane events comes down to one single core concept, the idea of a universal mind.
The idea is pretty profound. It says that our individual minds, they aren't isolated little islands. Nope. Instead, every single one of us is just a small piece of one enormous, all-encompassing consciousness that connects everybody and everything.
Vivekananda uses this beautiful analogy to help us wrap our heads around it. He says to imagine the universal mind is this vast, endless ocean. Our own minds, we're just the waves on its surface. We look distinct for a moment, but ultimately, we're all part of the same thing.
And this just brilliantly explains things like thought transference. Have you ever had an idea pop into your head, and then you find out a friend on the other side of the country was thinking the exact same thing at the exact same time? According to this theory, that's not a coincidence. That's the universal mind at work.
But this interconnectedness, it isn't just some passive philosophical idea. Vivekananda argued that it is the very source of our power to actually influence the world and to influence each other.
He asks us to think about 2 types of people, and we've all met them. First, you've got the brilliant scholar. They can speak beautifully for hours, right? But the moment they stop, you forget everything they said. Then there's that other person. They might only speak for a few minutes, very simply, but their presence, just them being there, leaves this deep, lasting impression on you.
So what's the difference? He calls it tej. It's a kind of personal magnetism, a spiritual force, and it has nothing to do with how smart you are or how fancy your words are. It's an inner power. And you know the best part? He says it's not something you're just born with. It's a force that anyone can cultivate and develop.
He even puts numbers to it, and this is staggering. He suggests our intellect, our words, that only accounts for about 1/3 of our impact on other people. The other 2/3, that comes entirely from this cultivated inner presence, this tej. That's huge. Which of course brings us to the big question. How in the world do you develop this power? Well, the answer, according to Vivekananda and this whole tradition, is through complete mastery over your own mind.
He actually calls the practice of mind control the greatest science of all. Think about that. Not just a spiritual practice, but a science. Why? Because once you achieve it, he says there is literally no task in the entire world that is beyond your reach.
And he lays out a clear path for us. It all starts with a foundation of purity and morality. From there, you learn to regulate your thoughts the very second they pop into your head. That leads to full control. And once you've mastered your own mind, influencing other minds, well, not just becomes a natural next step.
And the rewards for this kind of discipline, they're immense. He says physical pain starts to feel insignificant. Mental suffering, it can't even get close to you. And the very concept of failure becomes meaningless because a person with a controlled mind can steer any outcome they want.
So what does all of this mean for us right here, right now? This is where Vivekananda's speech becomes a direct, powerful challenge to every single person listening.
He asked this really sharp, penetrating question. Why do we let ourselves get tossed around by our circumstances, like toys in the hands of fate, when we have the inherent power inside us to take control and shape our own reality?
And he leaves us with this final electrifying command. It's a call to action, to rise up, to take charge of our inner world, and to finally realize the boundless potential that's already within us. So let me just leave you with this question. What would you do if you truly believed that power was already inside you, waiting to be unlocked?